Hope y'all are enjoying your quarantine time, quiet time. I'm looking for my speakers here. I want to give us a couple of minutes for all the good people to join us. And while we do that, whoa, you can enjoy the righteous sounds of Brother Kunde. And hopefully that'll give you even more relaxation as we get deeper into our meditation and prepare ourselves to go forward, to advance. Because at the end of this quarantine, we're gonna fighting day. You see, at the end of this quarantine, we're gonna come out ahead. We're gonna be in a better position than we started. We're going to have something that we didn't have before because we're going to intend to do that. We're not going to leave this time to chance. Okay? We're not going to leave this time to chance. So just hang on tight for a couple of minutes while we let folks start to filter in. Right? Just going to let them get in. And as they come in, then we'll make the conversation official. What's happening, good people? I see some old faces and new. Mr. Hightower, what's happening? Dina Love. Yeah. So just give us a chance here. Just let people trickle in as they get the message. And I think it's going to be a great conversation. I know it's going to be a great conversation. We're in great times. This is a great time. Aboya Aboshisho. Aboya Aboshisho. I see you all. I see you all. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yeah. I've been having some great conversations with people in the midst of the quarantine. I've been having some great one-on-one sessions and some classes with folks, and it's a phenomenal opportunity. This is a moment. This is really something very special, and people are being awakened. They're coming to I mean, you can't help but to rethink everything, and so as people are rethinking everything, we're coming up with different conclusions for this moment. So this is exciting. This is exciting. This is exciting. It's perilous because we know there's health is involved, but at the same time, as long as you're here right now, hopefully you're healthy. Hopefully you have not contracted coronavirus, right? So right now you're fine. Right now you're good to go. Right now you got the benefit of time, and you got a good reason to really rethink your whole life. You got a good reason. You got a lot of motivation to re-examine how you operate and what your values are, and really take a real good survey of where you are and what you've been up to. So that's fantastic. You gotta always be thankful for that. Oh, sorry. Oh, wow. Oh, this is nice. Okay, I never go live, so I don't know what kind of features we got. Oh, that's too much. Wow. I like that. Yeah, okay, this is cool. Sorry. I'm fiddling around with stuff over here. Oh, that's a little bit too narrow, though. Well, I guess that'll work. Cool. All right, so we'll let this one ride through, and at the end of this one, we'll go forward. Oh, okay, good. So you asked your friends about your natural gifts and talents. What happened? What was the result? What kind of responses did you get? It's usually a really phenomenal experience for people when you go through it and you ask, what are my natural gifts and talents? How do I show up in your life? Good morning, Mr. Evans. How you doing? Blessings to you and your family. Hope all is well where you are. So just give us a couple minutes. This song is maybe 2 minutes long, maybe 3 minutes long. Let me make sure I'm talking right. It's a short song, so just enjoy. At the end of this, we'll dive in. If you're gonna get some water, wash your hands. This is the time to go for it. Let me see if I can adjust my little tech here. All right. Okay. I see you, Delaney. That's good. That's valuable information. You know, that's a fantastic starting point. Right? So we keep going. You keep going. And I'll build with you a little bit afterwards, one-on-one, and we'll talk about, what you can do with that information that people have given to you. That's valuable information. For right now, what I want you guys to just, gather your thoughts around what's happening within your life, within your immediate environment, within your mind and your heart around this quarantine and the threat of coronavirus, and just start to consider that this moment presents a special opportunity for you. Just take that into consideration. This is a special opportunity. This is something that I've never experienced before, right? In all of my 50 years, and all of my 60 years, and all of my 70 years, and all of my 30 years, right? All the time I've been on this planet, this is something that's totally unique, right? And I can be suspicious, I can be fearful, I can be anxious, but I can also be curious. I can also be optimistic. I can also be forward thinking, right? I can really, really be introspective and look within myself to try to find a different aspect of my identity and my sense of purpose. So I want you to just take that into consideration as we get into this part of the conversation. So I want to talk about this differently. I want you to understand this differently, with the understanding that my goal is for us to come out of this situation better. I want you to have a jewel. When this thing is over, I want you to have a jewel. I want you to look back at this time, as the prototype, the model for how diamonds are formed. They say diamonds are formed under pressure. So I want you to look, and I want you to start to look at this as an opportunity to codify how you become a precious jewel. How are you going to get a very valuable outcome from this moment? This extended moment being the quarantine. Okay? Remembering that right now, you're not sick. Okay? You're not sick. Your mind is healthy. Your body is healthy. Your spirit is healthy. You can act. You can do things. You can work. You can build. All right? All right. Brother Kunde. So welcome to you all. Blessings to you. Blessings to you. We give thanks for this opportunity to reconvene and follow up on the initial conversation on leadership in the face of crisis. And today what I want to focus on is the reality check. Okay? The reality check. The reality check. The reality check. You got to do a reality check. That's the very first lesson that you learn when you face a crisis. Okay? Where am I really? What's really going on? And more particularly, an aspect of that is, how did I help to make this crisis? Okay? And that's the part I really want to dig into. Okay? So, in the big picture, we know that there was a coronavirus, and the virus spread around the world, and there are a few different theories about how far back this virus goes, what its origin was. Is it man-made? Is it natural? You know, is this some deliberate effort? Is it a fake out for, they're running some other kind of a scheme in the background? I've heard about the 5G towers are going up at this time, and the 5G towers are, some kind of a great mayhem to us. There's a lot of different conversations that are going on about the really big picture, about the coronavirus. A good resource you might want to check out, I found yesterday, is called Event 201, Event 201. And it's something, very, very interesting for you to take into consideration if you're interested in the big picture, right? And history. How did this come about? And then in the big picture, we also have to take into consideration the fact that as this virus has spread and different countries have responded differently, what has happened? Well, the global economy has pretty much come to a grinding halt, right? It's come to a grinding halt. People can't, or, most people are being asked not to go to work. They're, in different states and different countries. There's some explicit stay-home orders, and some of the countries are following up with those stay-home orders by, they're enforcing it. So stuff is shipments aren't being loaded, they're not being carried, and retail stores are closed, and all kinds of service centers are closed, which means lots of money is not being made. It's being lost. It's just frozen. Big picture. Okay, big picture. That's the context. It's important for us to take all that into consideration. That's the context. But smaller picture is how you're experiencing all of this. Okay? How is all this affecting you on one level? But when it comes down to the reality check, when you want to look at, if you focus on just the big picture, you just want to focus on the World Health Organization, or you want to focus on the World Bank, or you want to focus on whatever thing is far away, it may help you clarify your perspective and have a better understanding of the context, but it continues to disempower you, though. So I want to caution you. Don't get carried away with too much of the big picture, because again, you got a circle of influence, or you got a circle of control, and you got a circle of concern. You might be concerned about the big picture. You might be concerned about the history of the coronavirus and why the quarantine and the 5G towers and you may be concerned about that, but you cannot control any of that. You cannot control any of that. So you think about that, and then you stick it on the wall, and you just come back to it when you have more free time. Okay, but don't obsess over things that you cannot control. Okay? They have that great saying in the East: you mind your thoughts because they become your words. You mind your words because they become your actions. You mind your actions because they form your habits. You mind your habits because they become your character. You mind your character because it becomes your destiny. So as long as you're constantly focusing on externalizing your power by focusing on things that are outside of your control, you will be destined to be out of control. Okay? And so that's not what you want. It's not why you came here. It's not your purpose for being here. So again, don't obsess over things that are out of your control. You take them into consideration, but you keep them in proper perspective. You can't control all that. Okay? What you can control is your contribution to the problem. And that's a different level of self-accountability. Okay? It's not about blame, but it's about recognizing how have you helped contribute to the problem. Of course, people are going to say, well, of course I didn't have any contribution to the problem. I didn't do any of this thing. I wasn't part of any of that, right? And that's not what I'm talking about in terms of the origin of the thing, of the virus, or the origin of the quarantine. The part that I'm talking about are the economic aspects of it. All right. How is it possible that after 12 years, 14 years, 16 years of college, after 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years of work experience, you don't have a side hustle? How is it possible that after all these decades, right, you don't have any way to take care of yourself outside of the job that somebody else gives to you, right? That's part of how you contributed to the problem that you're experiencing right now. Okay. Again, this is not about blame. It's just about reality. It's about being able to look at it and say, hey, I'm at home in the middle of the day, not, with no promise of being able to deliver myself, in spite of the fact that I do have an education, and I do have work experience, and I do have a network of friends, and I do have all these resources, but somehow none of it is organized in a way that I can take it and use it to my own benefit, even if I really need it. So you have agreed by doing things in a certain way, year after year, decade after decade, you have agreed to position yourself in this particular way. All right? It's not about blame, that's just reality. Okay? So I want you to slow yourself down, give some real thought to what is it that you have done? How have you made different kinds of decisions that position yourself to be so vulnerable right now, to be so subjective or subjected to the decisions and the whims of somebody else who doesn't know you and may not have any real concern about your well-being beyond your ability to go to work for them. Okay? Now, for people who are practitioners of Orisha lifestyle, this is even more poignant because I want you to also ask yourself, well, how is it possible that you're part of a global religious network? How is it possible that you're part of a global religious network that is in Nigeria, Dahomey, or the Republic of Benin, Brazil, Cuba, Puerto Rico, Trinidad, Guyana, Venezuela, Ecuador, the Dominican Republic? It's all over the world. But that network has absolutely no economic solvency. There have been no suggestions on how within Orisha tradition we're going to be able to provide jobs for one another. Hey, we're going to adjust the way we do this and we do that. Don't worry about it. We're going to amp up these things so that you guys can keep making, the ends meet and take care of your family. That conversation is not happening anywhere. Look around. Oh yeah, we're divining here and we're making elbow there and we're making medicine about for this and that. But we don't have any practical means to solve your problem. We don't even have any suggestions. We're not even engaging in the conversation on that level at all. And you can go from top to bottom. I mean, at the highest levels, whatever you consider the highest levels to the lowest levels, go scour the network and find out who is talking about how you're going to feed your family, how you're going to pay your rent, how you're going to pay your mortgage. Who's talking about that? And who's providing opportunities for you to follow up with concrete, specific, step-by-step measures so that you can stay afloat in the midst of this quarantine. In spite of the fact that we are a global network. We're in Mexico, we're in Panama, we're in Costa Rica, we're everywhere. But no one is having any such conversation. Okay? That's something for you to consideration. That's part of the reality check. Hey, wait a minute. We're operating like a bunch of 8-year-olds. We're talking about we're, Baba so-and-so and Iya so-and-so, but we're not taking any responsibility for our tradition and for the people who actually uphold the tradition. That's a part of the reality check. Urgent that we examine that because this is the moment to do that. This is real. This is not hypothetical. There are people who are going to lose businesses. There are people who are going to not be able to, make their ends meet as a direct result of this situation. How is it possible that we're a part of a global network with all kinds of specialized people, doctors and lawyers and traders and truckers and farmers and builders? We have all of this talent, but there's zero conversation about how we're going to organize all that talent and all those resources so that we can redistribute our energy and our wealth to keep our community moving forward. Okay? That's something that you got to examine as part of the reality check. All right? And you have, again, personally, you have agreed to participate in that system. Okay, you are part of that problem because you have agreed that you're going to obsess over beads and pots and titles year after year, decade after decade, not taking into consideration of what else this is happening in your life, what other needs you have, and holding the tradition and your peers in the tradition accountable for being realistic, right? You have agreed to participate in a system like that. And so now you have the time to examine, do I want to continue to make those kinds of agreements? Because those agreements have brought me to this place right now where when the rest of the world shuts down, I'm shut down too, in spite of the fact that I'm supposed to be doing something different. We pride ourselves on being so different and so unique, right? That's in our minds what we're saying. I'm an Orisha devotee, and so I occupy a different space in the society, right? But when it comes down to it, when the society dictates that there's going to be a shutdown, an economic shutdown, and when the mainstream economy dictates that everybody is going to be frozen, and we're going to give, and here in the United States anyway, we're going to give you guys a $1,200 check, and the rest, good luck, wish you well. You're just as subject to that as the next person. So what makes you different? This guy's going to sit down. He's going to get his rosary and pray. This guy's going to go to I don't know, the Book of Psalms, and he's going to do this. And somebody else is going to have holy water, and they're going to spray it all over. What fundamentally, what makes your practice different from anybody else's, except for what you say? This is part of the reality check. Okay, so I hope what I'm saying kind of bothers you. I'm not just trying to be bothersome, but I am trying to encourage you to think. Okay, I'm trying to encourage you to think. All right, Ifa says that when we wake up in the morning, we should teach one another wisdom and not lay the foundation for foolishness. When we have a serious problem, we should confer with one another. And if after talking to one another, we cannot come to a solution, then we will consult our Iking. That's Oturupon Wanifa. That is the Ifa of our temple. Oturupon Wanifa is practical. You got to be realistic. The expertise is not way out there. The expertise is in the room. It's there with you. We are the experts. Orisha isn't going to drive a truck. Orisha is not going to lay a road. Orisha is not going to build a hospital. Orisha is not going to establish a market. You are going to do that. Orisha is going to help you, support you, enable you, create opportunities for you, but you're the one who's going to have to do that work. You're going to have to talk to one another. When we wake up in the morning, we should teach one another wisdom and not lay the foundation for foolishness. We have laid a nice, sturdy foundation for foolishness. And the fact that we are a part of a global religious community and we have zero response to this economic shutdown is proof that we are standing on a foundation of foolishness. And each and every one of us is equally responsible for agreeing to participate in that foolishness. We have agreed. We have agreed. Year after year, decade after decade. But now we have an opportunity to re-examine. What would happen if the global economy shut down? Are we ready? Is this the way we really want to participate? Is this the example that we want to show to our children? Are your children going to be able to look and say, when the whole thing went down, my parents were prepared. My people were ready. I saw how the rest of the world was scrambling, how the rest of the world was brought to a standstill, but I saw how all the Orisha people were able to rise up. I have greater confidence in the tradition because of how I see them handle adversity. Can we say that? Right? Can we look at those children that you're spending all this extra time with right now? Can we look at them and say, okay, yes, I can say beyond the shadow of a doubt that you should have absolute and total confidence in this tradition because it will have solutions to the real problems, even the most extreme problems we are ready to handle. This is part of the reality check, folks. I want you to think about it. I want you to really, really sit down. I really want you to examine this. Examine this with the intention to do something differently. Now, fortunately, within the tradition, the solutions are already there. The solutions are built into the tradition. Okay? Traditionally, the Ogun devotees make tools. They sell those tools. Traditionally, the Obatala people work with clay. They make ornaments and they make utensils, pots and bowls and all these things out of clay, which they use to sell at the market. Every single Orisha is associated with a craft, with a trade. Every Orisha is associated with a craft or a trade. Every Orisha brings their craft to the central market and they sell those products to one another. All Orisha are associated with trade. So we need to reconsider the ways in which we organize our traditional practice that incorporates actual work, not just beads, not just pots, not just title. We need to go back and really examine, what do these Shango people do? They don't live in a shrine all day and pray and pray and shake and pray. That's not what they do all day. They are responsible for upholding a particular principle in the civilization. The Ogun people hold a position in the society. We need to re-examine that. So if I'm a child of Orisha so-and-so, if you're so interested in finding out which Orisha you're going to serve, you need to also take into consideration, what work does that Orisha do in the community? And are you dedicated to doing that kind of work in the community in the name of your Orisha? Because it's not just about wearing the bling. This is part of the reality check, folks. I need you to think about it because we're sitting right now. I know you guys is hard and your mind is making you flip. As soon as I say it, your mind flips you right back to what you were thinking before. You don't believe what I'm saying, in spite of the fact that today is Tuesday and you're at home. You're at home at 12 o'clock, at 11 o'clock, at 1 o'clock, whatever time you're watching this, you're at home in the middle of the day because somebody else said that they were going to close their market. So since they closed their market, your market, excuse me, you don't have a market. Since they closed their market, you don't have a job. But you have Orisha, who's the owner of jobs. You have an Orisha who's the owner of production. You have an Orisha who's the owner of the market. You serve that Orisha, but you don't have work. That's a decision that you have made. That's an agreement that you have made. And I want you to examine that agreement. I don't want you to necessarily break it, but I want you to examine it. You might want to break it. It might be in your best interest. Right now, though, I just want you to examine, what kind of an agreement have I gotten myself into? Is this the agreement that I want to uphold? Is this agreement truly in my best benefit? Is this going to serve me over time? Is this agreement in keeping with the original tradition? That much I can tell you absolutely not. This does not agree with the tradition that we have inherited from our ancestors. Okay? Joblessness, uselessness, inertia, that's not part of the tradition. When you go back and you there's a cat named Clapperton. When Clapperton came to the market in Abeokuta, like in the 18th century, he overlooks this. There's a great account of it, and he overlooks this huge market. And when he's overlooking this market, he can see. Well, we have to leave that alone. He can see that there were men who were making locks, swords, daggers, bowls, knives. They had fabric. They were carving calabashes. They were sewing clothing. Everybody was nicely dressed. This body that I'm wearing today, they've been wearing this body for 200 years, just like this. This fila that they've been wearing this for 1,000 years in Yoruba land, right? So Clapperton came from I think Clapperton was from Scotland or something like that. He wasn't English. He was like Scottish. When he came from there, he's expecting to see, ooga booga, ooga booga, ooga booga. No, the Yorubas were sophisticated. The Yorubas are the most urban Africans on the continent and have always been so. They've always had thriving markets. So the fact that we're sitting here as a Yoruba network and we have no market is madness. We've traded the real tradition for beads and pots and titles. There's no way you could go back in history and find Yoruba people who cannot produce for themselves. But here we are, we're completely unable to produce for ourselves. Okay? Very, very incorrect. It's very incorrect. So again, I want you to, today is just about reality check. All right? So you got to excuse my tone. Don't excuse my tone. I mean for the tone to be a little bit harsh. This is time for a reality check. This is time for us to examine and re-examine. What are we doing? What are we doing? And is this what we want to continue doing? Because it is an agreement. You have made an agreement to participate in a tradition that has work at its base, but you are not using it to work. You're using it to climb somebody else's ladder, to work in someone else's establishment, to contribute to somebody else's market. That's the agreement that we've made. And I want us to re-examine that. I want us to consider, we want to keep that agreement. Sorry. I don't know. Sorry, let me. Wow. Okay. Sorry. Technology. Still not quite right. So that's the part of the reality check that I want us to examine, take into consideration, and truly explore. So what I'll do now is I'll pause because I think I'm going to have another assignment to do in about half an hour. So I want to pause right now before I conclude with what I need you to do. What are some next steps so that we can come out of this with some new agreements? What questions do you have? What insights do you have? Where does this message resonate with you? And what else do you need to know from me? Fighting day. That's right. That's right. Shots fired. They have been, absolutely. And we're gonna hit our target too. That's the best part about it. We're gonna hit a target. We know what we want to do, and we're gonna do it. So what questions do you have before I go through and just start listing off a couple of things to do to examine the reality check and make it complete? What is it that you, what questions do you have? No. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to read a passage. This is from one of the first. Actually, this probably is the first book that I started to write. This is a segment of the first book, but it's offered now in my course, the Intro to Yoruba Spirituality. My vision has always been of capitalizing on optimizing the principles of Yoruba civilization with the understanding that the spirituality is infused in every part of the civilization. We got to build as a civilization, not as just a religious practitioner, right? Right now, our problem is that we're addicted to like showmanship. We're addicted to the what I call the razzle dazzle, and so people get up and they sing and they dance and they sing and they dance and they sing and they dance, and we think, wow, this person is really deep in Orisha because they sing and they dance and they drum and they shoo, and then from the West African side, as that has become more prominent, just people, just really we get really impressed and enamored by the chanting and the the bells and all that kind of stuff, and it's good, it's not bad, I'm not against any of that, but that's not you're not going to get any traction from that. That's just performance. It's just performance. You can't build a civilization on singing and dancing and playing bells and stuff like that. That's not how you're going to build a civilization. You need leadership, and leadership organizes opportunities and resources, right? And they commit to that organization and then optimization no matter what. So right now, when the world economy is stepping back and everybody is sitting down, leaders are supposed to stand up and they're supposed to say, look, you have farms, you have a way to move the produce, you have a communication system. Listen, if Facebook and YouTube decided that for whatever, they don't have they don't have the ability to pay their people, and Facebook and YouTube limited their services or just shut down, how would we communicate with one another? How will we communicate? Well, we can't even communicate with one another. We haven't even taken responsibility for being able to have conversations with one another. We got people all over the world. We got engineers. We got software engineers. We got all kind of computer tech and communications masters in our midst, and we don't have a single communications network. What kind of nonsense is that? How can we be sitting here? We should be outraged. We should be completely and utterly outraged by the fact that we've been traveling around the world for 25 years and we have built nothing that grown people build who want to take advantage of their opportunities and want to take care of their people. It doesn't make any sense. It does not make any sense. Okay? So within this particular work of the intro to Yoruba spirituality, the part of the goal is economic localization. So I have a term, you can search it, Orisha economics. Orisha economics, because economics drive culture. Economics drive culture. The way you make money will determine your lifestyle. It may define your lifestyle. The way you make money will determine your lifestyle. Economics drive culture. Okay, so if we build an Orisha-based economy, then we will actually be able to practice Orisha culture. We'll actually be able to practice Orisha lifestyle. Orisha economics is the basis for Orisha lifestyle. Okay, so with that in mind, you can look at all of the spiritual centers, the temples, the iles, the tejeros, the Umfor, all of those should be vocational centers. Those should be places where you're not only, yes, so a portion of the population is learning to sing and dance and chant and make ceremonies and all that kind of stuff, but then there's a whole another portion of the population, let's say 10% of the population should be dedicated to doing rituals and ceremonies. But the other 80%, 90% of the people should be dedicated towards production and distribution and communication and management. That's what our society is supposed to be built of. Okay? So I just want to draw your attention to the fact that there's not a blueprint, but there's an overview in the intro to Yoruba spirituality that will give you a big picture understanding of what I'm talking about. Yesterday, I hit you to the Catalyst Guide. This is more nuts and bolts. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How you organize your people to identify community initiatives. You identify real needs and start to organize them. In the intro to Yoruba spirituality, what I have is an overview for why you're doing something such as that. All right. So I want you to, number one, I want you to go and explore the intro to Yoruba spirituality. It's on my Facebook page. It's on my website, obafemio.com/classes. It's an inexpensive class, like 25 bucks. And, I'm not doing this to sell you something, but the class is there to educate you on how you can take this knowledge and this process and apply it where you are, right? Because again, my goal is for you to come out of this quarantine with something more, with a jewel, with a precious jewel. I want you to have something in your hands that you can say, you know what? If they shut down their market, I may not be able to fly the next day, but I will be able to, flap my wings, right? At the very least, I'll be able to flap my wings, and a week later, I'll be able to fly. Okay, that's my goal for you right now. Start to plant those seeds in your mind where you can look at your environment differently, look at your resources differently, look at the people around you differently, and start identifying strategic ways that you need to start teaming up with people to take care of your needs in your particular community. All right. So the concept is available in the Intro to Yoruba Spirituality. Okay. The concept is available in the fundamentals of Orisha lifestyle. You go through my chapters on Egbe, on Owo and mentorship, on Oja, on Orisha. You go through those chapters of the fundamentals of Orisha lifestyle. It's a blueprint for community building. Okay. The book is, there's several books. The Catalyst Guide is about organizing. This is about organizing and mobilizing your community to identify local needs. You use this to identify what is happening on the ground where you are, and to get together a team of 10 to 15 people and start to communicate. You got communication system here, you got mobilization systems here, you got problem solving systems here. All of this is in the OLA 16 Catalyst Guide. You can get it at my website, obafemio.com/publications. In the Intro to Yoruba Spirituality, I give you a quick and dirty, it's 20 pages long. The book is short. The lecture is an hour and a half, 2 hours max. It walks you through the big picture of Yoruba civilization, Yoruba history, where all of the crafts fit into the culture and the civilization. So you can understand clearly that what we're doing is supposed to be integrated into a civilization. It's not meant to be something that you just do in a shrine. You sit there on the mat all day, every day, and chant and pray. That's not how Orisha lifestyle works. All right. And then in the fundamentals of Orisha lifestyle, in particular, there's a segment on from Egbe to Ori Isheshe, which is what I call the spiritual energy. That segment of the book explains to you the theological basis for organizing yourself, especially within an apprenticeship model, to guide one another and support one another in worshiping and being productive in your worship. Okay, this is how a leader, the mentor, your spiritual head, is supposed to be helping you to develop not the spiritual skill and the spiritual empowerment to be more useful, so that your hands, you understand what these hands are for, right? And you get a clear understanding of the relationship between your soul and your productivity. The highest manifestation of your spirituality is what you're actually able to do. You come into the market to produce, to create, to contribute. You can't contribute to the world sitting on your mat. You can't solve the problems of the world sitting on your mat. You got to get out there where the problems are. And you got to anticipate the problems with your particular eye. There's things that you can see and that you know that the rest of us can't see. But you've got to be looking out to where we are, and then have the capacity and the resources to talk to us about those problems and the solutions to those problems. All right. So what I want you to do is, I want you to take inventory. That's the very first thing I want you to do. I want you to take inventory of the problem on the ground where you are. I want you to start to examine, like, okay, sure, people can't work, or you know what I'm saying, those are obvious, but how is it affecting you where you are? Secondly, I want you to start to look at who are the people who have the resources to address that problem as it manifests in your area. If it's in your area, it's a food concern. Hey, we're not able to get the food into our area for whatever reason. All right. So who has a truck, right? Who can move back and forth? Who has the ability to communicate with everybody in our area? If I wanted to get, to find out, who needs food, how would I communicate that right there locally on the ground, right? Because I want you to assume, hey, you know what? Facebook could shut down. YouTube could shut down. Your cell phone services could shut down, right? How would you communicate with the people locally in your area? And how would you institute a plan to say that this is how we're going to solve our immediate needs right here where we are? I want you to start considering that right now. I want you to understand what the problem is. I want you to understand who has the resources to solve that problem. I want you to understand how can you communicate with the people where you are. How can you communicate with the people where you are? How can we get the word back and forth amongst all of us that this is the problem and we're going to meet at such and such a place and we're going to make sure everybody gets food. We're going to meet in this place and we realize that our biggest problem is that our old people don't have access to water. Okay, we're all going to get together and we're going to do this to make sure that all the elders have access to water. This is what we're going to do. Okay? So, identify your problem locally, identify your resources locally. Create or start to examine how can you communicate with your people and how can you transport resources from where they are to where people need to get them. Okay? That is your task right now. That's your assignment for the next 7 days. Okay? For the next 7 days. Tomorrow we're going to pick it up. I say 7 days that way because tomorrow we're going to pick up the next lesson. But today I just want you to focus on the reality. I need you to have a real clear understanding of what is your reality on the ground right now. All right? And then based on that, you can go and we can keep the conversation going. Now, in order to facilitate our conversation as long as we're together, what I want you to do is I want you to join us on the Orisha Lifestyle Academy. And we've got a thread going about different aspects of this virus and the quarantine. Ordinarily, the group is closed. I don't let people in who are not my students. But for this window, in order to facilitate some cohesive conversation about the subject, you can join the Orisha Lifestyle Academy. And there's a question that's going to ask for a code. The answer to the question is Freedom 2020. If you want to join the group, Orisha Lifestyle Academy, you're going to ask your question, and the answer to the question is Freedom 2020. If you don't answer the question, I will not let you in. If you answer the question any other way than writing Freedom 2020, I will not let you in. All right? So you got to at least be able to follow basic instructions in order to be part of the conversation. All right? So those are your marching orders right now. I hope you take it all up. And again, if you choose not to, that's up to you. But if you choose not to, that means you're choosing to continue to agree to be in a system and participate in a system that has you pretty much handicapped right now. Okay? So by refusing to just take these small steps, you're saying, I'm okay, and I think that, the Sky Daddy is going to take care of me, and I don't have to worry about solving any of these problems. All right? But if you believe that your responsibility is to do what you can with what the ancestors and what the Supreme Being have given you, if you believe that's the case, then I want you to take up this offer and take some real steps towards solving your problems and manifesting your destiny in a concrete, measurable way. All right, so that's all I got for you right now. I'm signing off. Blessings to you and your family. I hope all things will continue to abide with you. If you got questions, you can put them in the comment thread below, and I'll do my best to answer them in due time. Bye for now. Odabo.